now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, at the outset, I would like to thank the Secretary General for his briefing. Human rights are under threat everywhere. We continue to see egregious and systematic human rights violations. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated these violations. And as the Secretary General has said, I quote, "Now is the time to reset, to reshape, to rebuild, to recover better, guided by human rights and human dignity for all," unquote. Mr. President, we have examined the Secretary General's call to action for human rights and have taken note of its 7 priority areas. Frankly, my delegation would have preferred a more consultative intergovernmental process in the formulation of this important document. Nevertheless, we stand ready to engage with the Secretary General and appreciate his efforts to maintain human rights throughout the UN system and advance its work in this field. An appropriate venue for engagement with member states on these important issues will be needed. We would also prefer the funding of human rights activities through the regular budget rather than from voluntary contributions, which can, at times, distort the priorities and programs that are determined within the UN system. I would like to make a few observations. Firstly, while civil and political rights are the foundation of human freedom and dignity, there is need to give equal attention to socio-economic rights. I am glad to see this reflected in the Secretary General's briefing to us this morning. The right to development must become a global, international, legally enforceable right. This has been our effort in the Human Rights Council and other fora, and we hope to promote this with the support of the Secretary General. This right is even more imperative in the wake of the COVID-19 crisis and the challenge of achieving the SDGs. Secondly, the Secretary General has laid specific emphasis on prevention in his call to action. I would like to ask the Secretary General, what preventive measures can the UN system undertake to halt the systematic and widespread human rights violations in situations of foreign occupation and colonization, such as in Jammu and Kashmir? We look forward also to seeing how the proposal that has just been advanced by our colleague from Denmark will strengthen the protection of civil society, media representatives, and human rights defenders in such situations of occupation and colonization. Thirdly, we remain concerned at the global resurgence in intolerance, discrimination, racism, and violence against minorities and vulnerable groups, including women and children, as well as the manifestations of violent nationalism, xenophobia, and aggression. In this context, I would like to ask the Secretary General, what initiatives does he envisage to address the pervasive manifestations of Islamophobia, racial discrimination, and violence against Muslims in particular. I thank you very much, Mr. President.
I thank the distinguished representative of Pakistan.